lot of y'all who live out in the country and have horses don't have any problem knowing what to do with the waste. But if you live in a suburban area or just have 1 or 2 horses on a small property, what do you do when you're mucking out the stalls every day and need a place to get rid of the waste? Well, today we're going to visit with Doug Hamilton, and Doug is OSU's waste management specialist, and we're at OSU's Equine Center where they're doing a little bit of research on composting the waste from the horse stalls. And Doug, what are you doing here?
I'm mixing a day's stall cleanings into some old compost. We're starting a new compost pile. I'm getting it good and mixed.
Okay, and this is from one horse?
This is from one horse, one stall.
How many pounds a day does a horse produce in manure?
Our horses for the last summer producing about 27 pounds a day of manure and stall cleanings.
Okay, and that's just from in the stall, that's not in the turnout.
And then we'll strip once every 2 weeks, and that weighs about 100 pounds.
Okay, and that's stripping out the shavings?
The shavings, the used shavings. So we wet this down, get it about 50% moisture.
And just like with any composting process, it's really important to aerate it. And he's got a good long aerator there. Now most people have a little compost aerator, but that's an extra long one. Did you retrofit that one for this purpose?
What we did is we were looking for one. We searched through Stillwater and Tulsa, and we found a small aerator at Home Depot, and then just TIG welded a longer aluminum shaft on there. I have seen longer ones on with a like a shovel handle.
Right. Okay, now when you've added water and you've aerated that just like any other compost pile, what's your next step?
Okay. Then we just pile up, we add a little bit more water to this. Then for this, we just stack it up.
Okay, and that's something that, how often, you're cleaning out the stall every day, but how often do you start a pile like this?
We have 2 horses on 2 stalls, and in these size bins, it'll take us about 60 days to fill it up.
Okay, so you fill that up and then got that one mixed. You've got one back there that has a thermometer in it. Let's take a look at that and see what's how high you're getting in compost temperatures.
All right, this bin has been in operation. It's almost at its 60 days.
Okay.
So it's just about filled up. We're going to probably fill this one up by the end of next week. Today we're at about 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it's getting up there, and I know with the wire bins you need them for good aeration, but you have commented, and this is something we always tell gardeners in Oklahoma, is moisture is very important to the breakdown process, and you've got to keep this watered, because if it dries out, the process will stop altogether.
In the summertime we use a tremendous amount of water.
Okay, and then the students who work out here aerate this pile?
Right. We're still cleaning out the stalls here, so they're aerating it just like I just have done.
As they add to it.
As they add more material.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks, we're going to close this off. We'll wire off these bins and level this pile. And then the student comes out and aerates it about once a week. Okay,
and then that would be that's our 3rd pile right over here. That would be aerated about once a week?
Right.
Okay.
When we're cleaning and mixing, it takes about 2 weeks with the amount of material we're dealing with to get up to 120 degrees. And in this process, we'll be at 120 degrees for the rest of the 60 days it takes to fill that bin.
Okay.
Then we come out here, we wire our bin off, and we just mix in place. We level it off, it'll be about 3 feet deep.
And I want y'all to notice how wide this bin is. About how far across is this? About 5 or 6 feet?
It's 6 feet in diameter.
Okay, you've got to have enough mass put together, right, for the process to work.
We want enough mass to keep our heat, but we also wanted to have no more than 3 feet to get good aeration.
Okay. We also want to mention that a lot of people who own horses, of course, if you're mucking out stalls, you're going to spread it on the land, but in a small area, you quickly run out of spaces to put it. And a lot of suburban boarding stables will give you this as a gardener if you want to come pick it up. But if you are a horse owner with just a couple of horses and need to know how to get rid of it, this is one possible solution, and certainly we don't want to just pile it somewhere and let it run off in terms of water quality.
Right. We'll probably want to add a little bit more water as we're mixing this one. It's getting kind of dry.
Yeah, it is.
I believe Kim's going to come out and mix this afternoon, so she'll add some water to that.
And she'll want enough moisture to where you get just maybe a tiny drop of water?
If you're squeezing, you won't see much water come out, but you'll get a few drops.
You kind of feel like a damp sponge?
So after we level this off, we generally get about another 30 days of heat.
Okay.
So we have together around 100 days above 120 degrees, and then it'll start to cool down.
Okay, and then over here you got your final pile.
Right. Then we go into the curing phase, where we're no longer producing a lot of heat. We get this covered to retain some of the moisture, actually keep a lot of moisture off this time of year when it starts to rain. You're no longer heating and losing a lot of moisture, so
okay,
we're trying to keep the process
the finished
stable.
Product, and then they can put that directly on their gardens and not worry about burning it. And we want to emphasize that with animal manures, there's a good chance of burn if you're putting it on during the growing season. Of course, they could work some into their soil this time of year, and it'd have several months to break down and some of the nitrates to go off before you put in a spring crop of plants. But Doug, we want to thank you for showing this. This is kind of some interesting research on a small scale of how to handle animal waste for that suburban or small scale horse owners.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.